Almost forgot to add myself to the stream. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. We're on our old night tonight uh, because I've got something going on tomorrow night. So, no show tomorrow, unfortunately. We'll be back on Wednesday next week with a show that I'm already looking forward to. So, get ready for next week's show as it's going to be a big one. I wish we would have been able to do it a couple weeks ago. We will be talking about you got to stay to the end to find out. Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about Death Proof, the Quentin Tarantino film, the Grindhouse movie that came out in 2007. We'll touch on Planet Terror a little bit, but we're going to probably focus on this one. Nate is back. He is here. He probably got some notes. We're going to do some of Nate's Amazon reviews. Seth is here as well. And hopefully next week we'll have the whole crew back with Jared, Nate, Seth, and myself. I am Razor. If you want to hit the like button to help us out, it spreads our seeds everywhere. And if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. While I bring in the guys, we're gonna see how good old Nate's doing. Nate, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Good to be back.
Good. Yes, good to have you back. It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
2 months. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 months. Certainly did not fly by. Do is there anything you want to say before we introduce Seth? What you've been up to or anything?
I've just been working in theater recently. My daughter, I volunteered to do sets for a production of Treasure Island at our local theater, and my daughter ended up landing a role in it as a old Kate, and it was the first time she'd ever acted before, and she really took to it and was awesome. And she just took a class and did a performance again. So I was doing that, and I've been taking a theater directing class for the last 6 weeks. It ends tomorrow, so that's where I've been.
Well, I'm glad you're back. We've missed you. I know our audience has missed you as well. And I know Sethy Poo has missed you. Seth, speaking of, like you sent us videos of your daughter doing some of the work she's done. And man, I know your daughter a little bit. I've met her a couple times. It's really great to see her coming out of her shell, and she's doing great. So kudos on that, man. I'm really, really happy for you guys. Now, Seth has also come out of his shell recently. Haven't you, Seth? Very stoic, this guy. Or maybe it's his internet's not working again.
Ah,
Oh, Seth.
there it
Yeah,
goes.
he's moving a little bit.
Have I?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. It
Yeah.
seems a little glitchy here on my end.
You want to know what
Yeah.
was funny though is when we
You
did the
guys keep
show
cutting it.
outside. When we did the show outside, you had the best connection ever. Do you remember that?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the best connection you've ever
Both
had.
right now
Anyway,
training.
it's
Raining.
also well here it's 97 degrees right now. So anyway, did you guys get a chance to watch Death Proof?
Yes.
I literally just finished it. I hadn't seen it since I bought the DVDs in 2008 or whatever it was. I've seen no, that might not be true. I've seen Planet Terror more because, and no offense to anybody, but Planet Terror is just it's a romp. It's a lot of fun. It's a kind of quasi zombie movie. It's fucking ridiculous, and Death Proof is more of a film. If that makes any sense, also.
Yeah.
But I like both of them. I think I want to get what you guys think of both of them, and then we'll get into Nate's Amazon reviews. So, Seth, what about you? What do you think of Death Proof?
I really like Death Proof. I like both of the movies. Planet Terror is more of like my type of movie,
Right.
but Death Proof is fantastic, and I would say like that car accident scene is pretty terrifying. It really takes you like inside a actual fatal collision, and I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that
Mhm.
scene, but yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. One of the things I like is watching it today. I gotta admit, I noticed it reminds me of a slasher on wheels, which I really kind of enjoyed. And Nate, what about you? I know that you're the one who requested the movie. This was kind of like off
Yeah.
tip. And
Well,
thank you because I did not want to talk about Halloween 3 marsupials. I'm just saying. Sorry, Seth.
Well, yeah, I mean, the movie is exactly a slasher film with a car. That was the whole idea. Was Quentin was really into slasher films at the time, watching a lot of films from the 70s and 80s, and wanted to go into that genre, but he never wants to just do that genre. And they were wanting to capture all the Grindhouse stuff. And one of the other Grindhouse genres was the car chase movie, like Gone in 60 Seconds and Vanishing Point.
The ones they mentioned.
Yeah, the ones they talk about constantly in the movie.
Yeah.
And, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. And, so he said, what if I do a slasher film where instead of a knife, the guy's using a car? I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. I saw Reservoir Dogs my freshman year in college in '94, just before Pulp Fiction came out. And so he's my favorite filmmaker. I can see why Planet Terror is Seth's favorite of the two, because that is a complete love letter to John Carpenter all the way through. I mean, they're even using music from John Carpenter's films in it. And I like Planet Terror. My thing was, this movie was supposed to be a tribute to the old-fashioned filmmaking, and Robert embraced digital so much. There's so much of that movie's digital in terms of some of there's CGI. There's all kinds of work. Quentin was pure practical on this. He shot it in film. Everything's in camera. There's no digital effects. It's old school film. He doesn't want to just homage filmmaking of the old yesteryear. He wants to make it the way they made it. So these are real stunts, real things happening. Zoe Bell can die any minute on that car.
Oh my God. I can't wait to talk about Zoe Bell. Cannot wait to talk about her.
So when it comes down to this movie, I enjoyed it. I saw Grindhouse 3 times in the theater. It was a hell of an experience. It was awesome. Unfortunately, people didn't get it, and we never got more, because that was the plan. They hoped that some of the fake trailers would become the sequels.
Two of them came out though, right?
We did get to see Machete. We did, but that's the only one.
There was another one, wasn't there?
No, there was Don't, which was Edgar Wright's trailer.
Yeah.
Werewolf Women of the SS, Rob Zombies, and Thanksgiving, Eli Ross. I really wanted to see Thanksgiving because I thought that was great.
That trailer's really good. I thought they made another one based off of. I read something today.
They made two Machete movies, but
2 Machete movies. I'm looking because I swear I saw something else that. Oh, Hobo with a Shotgun is the thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that was more just a general fans tribute to that same genre, the Grindhouse movies. Had nothing to do. I think they made Hobo. I believe now. This has been a long time. I think they held a contest for fans to submit a trailer, a Grindhouse trailer, and Hobo with a Shotgun was a fan's submission, and it actually got made. So yeah, now that you're kind of sparking my memory, I believe that's what happened. Was a fan submission, and then they actually made the movie. But I think it was a kind of a contest.
I'm reading right now. Yeah, it says Hobo with a Shotgun, directed by Jason Eisner, was initially a fake trailer made for an international contest to promote the release of Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez's double feature Grindhouse. It won the contest and was screened in some areas. And a lot of people like that movie too. Actually,
it was fun.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I mean, if you like Rutger Hauer, it's definitely worth checking out.
I like Rutger Hauer. He's good. Yeah. So anyway, so I know we got a lot to talk about today. Mostly, like I said, we're going to be talking about Death Proof. Also, I read something about how Quentin came up with the idea, which is really interesting. It has to do with Sean Penn. Yeah. So, like, we'll get into that. But first, Nate, are you ready for this? Ready? Your first feedback?
Let's do it. Hey, it's Fat Nate.
Nah, you look good. You look sinister. Nate's Amazon reviews. Let's do this.
All right, Death Proof. 1-star reviews on Amazon.
Here we go.
Okay. Harvey Weinstein must be buying the 5-star reviews. This movie is so bad that I think it's bad on purpose. Someone kind of was. They were making tributes to bad movies. Someone must have done somebody wrong, and this movie is the payback. Most of the 2 hours is spent on the two groups of women's pointless, casual conversations that have nothing to do with the plot. I can't believe I actually called it a plot. A guy with souped-up cars uses the car to kill women. No explanation, no reasoning, and his methods are ridiculous. As Michael Myers was explained and reasoned too.
I was just
Quentin
Halloween. So
Tarantino is far overrated, but I certainly like watching his movies. But this is a huge turd.
No.
Okay, 1 star. Alternate universe. I don't see how this movie got such good reviews. They must be in an alternate universe. It's total BS. Trash. I'll give someone mine free and $1 if you can give me back the 2 hours I wasted watching this tripe. Don't waste your time. I like some of Tarantino movies, Pulp Fiction, True Romance, but Grindhouse is almost as stupid as Inglourious Bastards.
What?
Masterpiece, yeah.
Yeah, no shit.
Just a pissed off old dude killing hot chicks for being hot. Loved Planet Terror, but this just felt lame. Really just an old disgruntled dude killing hot younger women because they are hot and having a good time. I mean, it's a slasher film, guy.
Yeah, I know. That's what you said. That people aren't getting it. Come on, people.
Yeah, this is just a title I wrote down. You need to be a girl to like this movie.
What?
But there's a lot of criticism is misogynistic because it really is a female driven film. Yeah. And just a bunch of dumb girls talking for 2 hours. Not worth writing about or watching, yet he wrote a review. Boo! Turned it off after about 25 minutes. Horrible. Whose crackpot idea was this? All right. I don't work in movies or anything like that. I'm a teacher in a small town. That being said, I don't see how this movie got made. They say that it's an homage to trashy drive-in movies of the late 60s, early 70s. Is this really a genre that was screaming for a modern homage? And what about the target audience? I'm 29 and was born in 1978. The people who saw these type of movies at the drive-ins would have to be how old exactly? If it was a good movie in its own right, maybe that bit of idiot thinking wouldn't matter, but the movie blew. There were women talking crap for 45 minutes as we waited for some action, then bam, 2 stupid minutes of it. Then more dead space, and then the only part of the movie I liked when the table was turned on the guy. If possible, just watch the last couple of scenes on YouTube or something and save yourself some time and money. Oh, and I love most of Robert Rodriguez's and Tarantino's other movies. This was just them jerking around and having a studio pay for it. Wow, what a disappointment. I love Tarantino, but this was awful. I found myself turning it off and going to the bathroom and kitchen. Sherlock. Yeah, I was like, Sherlock Holmes. This is just the title again. Sherlock Holmes could not have found the plot to this movie. A little faith in Sherlock. Yeah. Not filmed in Tennessee. Get with it. When the Mustang pulls in the package store in Lebanon, Tennessee, locally pronounced Lebanon, by the way, the signs advertise liquor and beer. Everyone knows liquor and beer cannot be sold in the same store in this state. Idiots. Yeah, we all know that. Lots of silly girl talk with one somewhat decent chase scene. All right. Now, Quentin is from Tennessee. He was from Knoxville, I believe. I think that's where he was born. I could be wrong. But yeah, I know he's from Tennessee originally and then moved out to L.A. as a kid. But yeah, they didn't shoot in Tennessee because they shot in Austin, Texas. And most of the movies shot in Austin, Texas. They're not going to go to Tennessee just to shoot that chase scene, which is really all Tennessee part is. So that's how film works, man. You don't just go to where it's supposed to be.
No, they didn't film Infinity War in Wakanda. They filmed that in Georgia.
Look at Atlanta.
Right.
I like this one. This is just a title. A Bland Apart. His company, A Band Apart. Yeah. They called it A Bland Apart. So that's it. That's
good. Oh, we got a good comment based on it says these reviews are convincing me to watch it tonight. So
check it out, Jeremy.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Check it out. It's a good movie. It's like hardcore horror fans are gonna be like, it's not horror, of course. and well, you know how it is, Nate. Come on.
Yeah, I know how it is, and it is. The movie is two films in one, really. The first part of the film is a slasher homage film, but it follows the slasher trope, but it also feels like a Richard Linklater movie as well, which is on purpose. I mean, they shot it in Austin, where Linklater's from. Quentin's friends with Linklater, so it is a hangout movie for a lot in a lot of ways in the beginning. And he even like homages Linklater, like the store that they go to in the cut scene that's in the DVD, because that wasn't in the theatrical release when they stop at the gas station. Is Circle A, which is the same convenience store in Suburbia, Richard Linklater's movie. And, you know, it's an Austin movie. He celebrates a lot of Austin stuff. But the first half is totally a slasher film. And it has a bit of giallo in there. There's a lot of homages. The scene where he's taking photos at the airport is straight out of Argento's Bird with the Crystal Plumage. He uses the same music. It's the same thing, taking the snapshots. The scene where she's out on the porch and sees his car, he's playing Cat o' Nine Tails music. And there's something about that scene in the car Rose, the lighting and everything, that makes me think of a giallo film, of an Argento film.
I can see that.
Red and there's something about that feels like that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely inspired by Italian giallo and slasher films. And then the second half is total car chase, girls' revenge movie, is what it is. And so we really are getting two films in one, and that's part of the problem with the film. If I had to criticize the film, it's two films, so that means we get 3 acts, and then we go back to a first act and get 3 more acts.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like, well, I agree with that, actually, what you just said, but I also feel like, you know, the end of a slasher, when the final girl is able to fight back, and that's kind of what happens at the end of this one. You know, they face the guy, and then boy, they scared the hell out of him too. But like, yeah, like I don't know. I think you're right. And watching it today, other than the car chase, I like the first part better.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Well, the characters are good, and I like his introduction, Stuntman Mike. Kurt Russell as well, and he's just pounding down some nachos, you know.
Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn is definitely a 2-part film as well, and in the same way that like Predator starts out as an action film and becomes a science fiction horror film in many ways. And but this movie is even more straight down the line, because it is the first hour is another movie, and then the second hour is another movie. And the only link is that we now know who Stuntman Mike is, what his MO is, and the danger that he's held, like he's kept away a little bit. We see him like in the diner scene, we see him eating at the bar as they're talking about car movies and everything. We see them from a back. Now we know who he is, but we don't see his perspective, because we know who he is. That scene always reminded me of Duel, where he goes to the restaurant.
I haven't seen.
Yeah. Which Duel is another movie. This movie has a lot of homages to that. I think one of the license plates in the movie is the license plate from Duel. There's a license plate from Bullet and from Vanishing Point and Gone in 60 Seconds. A lot of the cars, of course. The whole thing is she wants to get the Kowalski car from Vanishing Point and drive it. The Mustang from Gone in 60 Seconds. And they called it the little pussy wagon, because there's a lot of more self-referential in this movie. He does a lot of referencing of Tarantino movies and Tarantino's moments in this movie, more than, and it's also the only Quentin Tarantino movie that's in chronological order.
Oh,
there are no flashbacks.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and it's the only movie he shot. He was the DP on this film, so it's very down and dirty and old school.
Nate's got all the information, as usual.
Hey, I made my return. I got to be on. I only had 2 days, but I'm a Tarantino geek, so.
Yeah, you are. I mean, and like I said in the paragraph describing the show, is like, this is probably our only chance we're going to get to talk about Tarantino.
Yeah, unless we do From Dusk Till Dawn, which we
but that's
not really his movie.
But. Yeah, That's what I was going to say. It's
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez's movie technically, even though he's in it and kind of a big part of it.
You know, the cool thing about this film, it was Robert Rodriguez's idea to do an anthology film that was an homage to this stuff. But the reason Quentin jumped on it is he said, you know, he kind of felt like he almost wished that Reservoir Dogs hadn't been a hit or that hadn't been his first movie, because a lot of great filmmakers start out doing exploitation movies. So he said, I never got the chance to do my slasher film or my horror film or my. That's what this movie was. It was a makeup of the movies he didn't get to make before making legitimate studio type films or Pulp Fiction, that kind of thing. So this is the movie he would have made if he had been a independent, low budget, first time director, just trying to make a movie, working in the horror genre, which is where a lot of people start. A lot of the great classic directors started working for Roger Corman and doing exploitation movies in the 60s and 70s. And Quentin didn't do that. So this was on purpose, as someone said, on purpose, a tribute to bad cinema and the kind of movies that you make to start. But he started with Reservoir Dogs and became, you know, one of the big guys in Hollywood. Or not. I mean, Reservoir Dogs wasn't the hit that Pulp Fiction was, but
no, because like I remember seeing Pulp Fiction and then everybody talking, well, you got to see Reservoir Dogs now, you know. So I had to go back and see Reservoir Dogs after that, and then after that, you know, like I was saying last night to someone, my favorite Tarantino movie is actually Jackie Brown, which I probably surprised some people maybe.
I love Jackie Brown.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But Jackie Brown suffered for the same, like this movie suffered because people didn't know what Grindhouse movies were. Like people didn't go to the theaters to see it. A lot of people left the theater after Planet Terror ended because they didn't realize that wasn't it, that there were fake trailers and that there was another movie to be seen. Jackie Brown was hurt because it was a blaxploitation movie, and a lot of people didn't know, you know, outside of the black audience didn't know what the hell that was. They hadn't seen Pam Grier movies and they hadn't seen, you know, Fred Williamson movies. And but also I think the interesting thing about Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs are total dude bro movies in many ways. But Jackie Brown is about a middle-aged black woman, which, you know, some of his core audience is probably, what? Where's the guys talking about this and that and
cheeseburgers?
Like, yeah, and like Jackie Brown was this very adult romance movie in some ways,
and it was pretty faithful to the novel as well.
Surprisingly faithful to Rum Punch, and but he owes a lot to Elmore Leonard. Elmore Leonard, like Quentin, kind of makes Elmore Leonard movies anyway. Like, and it is shocking, as good as a writer that Quentin is, he did stick to Elmore Leonard's dialogue in many ways, which just is a testament to, I mean, Elmore Leonard's a great writer all around. I mean, I've never not enjoyed an Elmore Leonard book or movie, really. I mean, there's some movies are bad that are based on Elmore Leonard books, but he's one of the best to do it. Him, I'd say, Out of Sight, Soderbergh's movie, Get Shorty.
I love Get Shorty.
Yeah. And some of the westerns like 310 to Yuma and Hombre and stuff like that. So, but Quentin's in that league of people who get Elmore Leonard correctly. And have you ever seen The Switch? Or actually, the book was called The Switch, but the movie was called A Life of Crime, I think. Came out a few years ago. But The Switch was the first book that featured Ordell and Lewis and Melanie.
Oh, really?
And Quentin stole that book when he was a kid from a newsstand. And it was the first book, and then Rum Punch was later. But they made The Switch into a film with Mos Def playing Ordell Roby, and John Hawkes playing Louis Gara. It's okay.
What's up, Luke? Well, I actually like Mos Def. I don't think he's that bad of an actor, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
cool dude. John Hawkes is fucking. I love John Hawkes ever since From Dusk Till Dawn. Like that guy. I was glad that Winter Bone put him. Is
he the one that was the cashier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So just I see people trickling back in. We're talking about Death Proof, the Quentin Tarantino movie today, the Grindhouse. Please let us know if you've seen the movie, what you think of it. We'll get to any comments we can. Uh, Sherry has something to say. It says, I don't know why this movie is so hated. I loved it. The music, the badass car chase, the glitches, yeah. The way they made it into like with the cigarette burns and all that different stuff.
Yeah.
In the film, and Kurt Russell's portrayal of a psychopath, it was different, and I guess people don't like different. Actually, Kurt Russell's performance was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I especially liked how kind of methodical he was in the bar, planning everything out, not getting drunk, drinking water and eating those nachos and and his virgin pina colada.
This might be my favorite Kurt Russell character or performance. Like it's really
That's a bold thing to say, man.
that is, but
I just watched Overboard yesterday, so that's
well, I do love Overboard. I'll give you that. But that scene on the porch is my favorite scene in the movie, and his performance, the dialogue in that scene is just great. I mean, you just talked about like the manipulation, like saying, "Hey, I'm not a stalker, but I didn't say I wasn't a wolf," and it's
right.
you look a bit too shade, and it's like, what's that? And it's like a bit, wounded slightly. Like there's far things more fetching than a wounded ego on a beautiful angel. I mean, there's some fucking great, cool stuff in that. What does he say? Yeah, how do you know she didn't do the dance? He goes, "I'm good that way." He's just got these great little moments, and I just love the John Wayne moment. The book.
Yeah.
Everybody I meet goes into the book, and now that I've met you, you're going in the book.
Chicken
Only
shit.
I'm afraid I have to lock you under chicken shit. You're going in the book. That's no good in my book. It's that scene, and just the little lines like, "Do I scare you? Is it my scar?" It's like, no, it's your car. It's my mom's car. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's this really cool, charming thing about because it's Kurt Russell. I mean, Kurt Russell's such a heartthrob. Everybody, I don't know how people don't like. How could you not love Kurt Russell? I mean, most people have been watching him since he was a kid, but he's just got this nice guy. Even when he plays Snake Plissken, he's still, he's trying to be this. Because I remember growing up, like I knew Kurt from like Big Trouble Little China and Overboard. Those are when I first started to notice him. Because I didn't see Escape from New York until I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so when I saw him play Snake Plissken, I was like, he can't be a badass. Because the first time I saw him trying to play a badass was like, Tango and Cash or something when that came out. But like, I didn't get the badass Kurt Russell until later because I didn't watch The Thing or Escape from New York or, what else did he do earlier on that was probably a badass? I mean, he didn't do many. He didn't play the badass often.
No.
My first introduction to John Carpenter and Kurt was Big Trouble in Little China, Jack Burton, which was, him playing a John Wayne doofus. So when I saw him with I think the first time I saw Kurt and thought, oh, this guy's kind of badass was maybe Backdraft or Soldier or something like that.
I'm trying to think of the first thing I saw him in. I think it was The Best of Times, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, Tombstone. He was a badass in Tombstone.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think Backdraft came out maybe the same year as Tombstone.
He was a badass in Captain Ron. Like, come on.
Captain Ron. I mostly knew him from Big Trouble in Little China and Overboard, I think, as far as like when I became a fan. Breakdown's a good one, too. Yeah.
I would get him for Rose. Yeah. My girlfriend. Cool. Seth. So let's break down each segment if we could.
Yeah.
I mean, Nate, you already started. I want to get some of Seth's views on that opening act, if you will, where they're in the bar. And by the way, I love the set that they designed in the bar, and it's raining outside. And I do like the girls talking. Because that's a slasher trope. I mean, what happens in Halloween, Seth?
Totally.
Evil dies.
Oh my God.
Tonight.
So you want my perspective on the?
I want to hear what you got to say about this.
Well, one of the things I actually love about it is the fact that there's two halves of it. So the first half, they're setting up, like you guys said, they're setting up the slasher movie, and you have this group of characters, and we're starting to get to know. I actually kind of like them by the end.
Yeah, me too.
But it really helps set up the car and the danger that he presented, right? And again, just going back to the car crash is incredible. The way that it keeps focus on one character, then going back to him, turn on the lights, going to another character, brilliant. And so it really helps set up the situation and the character and the danger that he presents. And he basically he gets away with it. I mean, you hear Earl McGraw, which is a Tarantino character from Dusk Till Dawn. And he's talking about how, he can't get him with anything. The girls were the ones that were drinking. They had the weed on them. This guy was sober. And he knows he's guilty, but he can't really do anything about it. So when you get to the second half of the movie, he gets what's fucking coming to him. He messes with the wrong group of people.
Yeah, he did.
And
you don't fuck with Zoe Bell.
Right. It's great. He was a stuntman, and his biggest foil was these female stunt women. And there's something really great about the way the tables turned at the end.
Yeah,
it did kind of take away a little bit from because it seemed like the first half was way more serious, and then in the second half, as hilarious as it was, seeing Kurt Russell's reaction, like when he got shot and when they're chasing him, beating the crap out of him. Fantastic.
Not even just that, the whole time when he's reacting in the car, I mean, it's so good.
It's a great moment, but it's like a switch of the tone.
Right.
But again, I don't really mind that, because I do like the way that it was presented, because I do like how they set up his threat, and then how, because I remember being in the theater and not really expecting the whole turn of the tables thing. So when it actually happened, it was like, oh shit, he really fucked with the wrong people, and it's great. That's my thoughts on that. I really liked the first half, especially. I think it's very effective, and by the end, I did like the characters. And it kind of felt weird. Like when I was watching it last night, I felt like I should have paused it at that point when they died, because they were still kind of with me in my head as I was watching the remainder half of it. But yeah,
especially. First of all, I like the DJ, which I'm lost on her name at the moment. Lady Jungle, what was it?
Jungle Julia.
Jungle Julia.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she had such a great voice. But Butterfly, I really liked her, and I do like that scene where she does end up giving him that lap dance. And if you look, I don't think you're supposed to see Kurt Russell in that scene, but he's got a big ass grin on his face, like he's having a ball. And I really like that scene. But that's the one thing about this movie that I liked is just to kind of piggyback off what Seth said was, how I feel about character building, and they do a good job of building up these characters. You get to know them a little bit. You get I like that. Even what's her name?
Shanna, Jordan.
Yeah,
Bennett. And Rose McGowan is great in it.
Rose McGowan, there's a lot of good, decent actors in this movie, and you get to know them all through I like Eli Roth even is in the movie.
Yeah,
it's they do a lot of good stuff in this. Or Quentin does a lot of good stuff in this movie, and the dialogue is fucking on point in this. I mean, again, I don't understand, just like what Sherry said, I don't understand why people hate this movie. It's a good fucking movie. It's well directed, well acted. Quentin's in it again as Warren, the bartender.
I think the from the general consensus, I think I noticed in the beginning when Grindhouse played, Death Proof should have been first.
Yeah, I agree.
Planet Terror is 100 miles per hour, balls to the wall, crazy shit. Insanity. And Death Proof is a slow burn film. And it's hard to say hit people with just Robert Rodriguez madness and action and everything, and then say, all right, now slow down and listen to these girls talk for 2 hours, because most of it is talk. And I think people are okay for that first half, but I think once we get to the second group of girls and we watch them talk for another 15 or 30 minutes or so, it starts to feel, movie's all about pacing and momentum. And we get to this height of the kill, and then we're asked to chill out for another half hour and listen to another group of girls talk. And I think the problem scene is when they're at the diner eating and they're talking about car movies, because that scene is like 7 minutes long and it's a oneer.
Yeah.
And there's no cuts. It just keeps circling and circling and circling. And I think by then people are kind of like, if people's attention span gets, I'm bored, and so I think that's where he loses people in some ways. Is those second group of girls.
I was going to say, even the movie McGowan was lost. I mean, not Rose McGowan, Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
I do think cutting that convenience store scene was good for when they released Grindhouse, because not a lot is accomplished in that scene other than stuntman Mike touch her foot and she recognized him. That was not in the original Grindhouse.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Film.
I've only seen it on DVD. So
in Grindhouse, it was a shorter film.
That's why I saw different runtimes. Okay, because there's I was looking for the runtime to see if I had enough time to watch it, and there's like an hour and 27 minutes, 2 hours 13 minutes. I was like, what the fuck? Which one is it?
Yeah. But going back to the characters, while the first group of girls, as traditional in exploitation slasher film, they are sexualized, they're dressed very skimpy. Then again, it's summer in Texas.
Legs for days everywhere.
Also, by saying that, these women are more developed than probably most slasher film women ever are. And the thing is, Quentin writes women the way a lot of men don't write women. These characters have dimensions. They're strong, but they're also vulnerable. They can be bitchy. They can be funny. They can be geeky. They're all of that. Like, they have multiple things going on. We're not just seeing one-dimensional women. We're seeing women who are really interesting. And then you get to the second group, of course, they're adult. They have their own thing. You get stunt women. You got tough women. Then you got a mother, Abernathy, and you got the starlet. You got all these, and not to mention extremely diverse characters. Most of them are half of them are people of color. They're black or Hispanic, and there's white. It's not just a bunch of white girls or whatever, or one black girl. It's like it's equal, And so we're getting a diverse group of women and different ethnic backgrounds, different personalities, different temperaments, but also, as tough as Jungle Julia is, when we see her texting her boyfriend, she's hurt. She's sad. She's feeling insecure about that. Like and that's the kind of stuff that, especially that first group, it just like with Butterfly, she's a tough girl from, I guess, New York, and she's got kind of a New York accent. Or tough
I love
girl.
her accent. Yeah.
And but when he says she's wounded, because you were expecting guys to be hitting on you all night long, and no one did. And he reads it, and I think she is, and I think she's kind of steps up to the challenge as he's read her and calls her out. And then with Rose McGowan, there's history too, because Rose McGowan knows Jungle Julia from school, and she has this animosity toward her. And like, how many blowjobs did you give to get those billboards? And like, sorry, I'm built like a girl, not a butt man. Like, these are great little lines that she has. And then Stuntman Mike is just written as this very interesting. He's a very interesting character too, because he's this guy who's been times forgotten, and he's no longer needed and has no purpose, and that creates animosity and anger towards young people, towards the next generation, towards there's probably some woman fucked him over. I love some of the Eli Roth's lines about the guy cut himself getting out of his time machine.
Yeah.
And he says, "What? The BJ forget the bear or whatever." He says something about BJ and the
Yeah,
bear.
yeah. BJ forgot the bear. Always chowing down on those nachos.
Yeah, and all the little jokes, like there's a lot of Burt Reynolds in there, or Earl McGraw calls him Hooper. Oh, Hooper in there. And he does the breaking of the fourth wall where he looks at the screen and smiles when he gets her in the car, which is totally Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds did that shit, like Smokey and the Bandit and all that. And I think there's some other Burt Reynolds references. I'm surprised there's no White Lightning reference because that was a car chase movie with Burt. And Quentin's named after Burt Reynolds, if I remember right. Like Quint was the character Burt Reynolds played on the Western he was on in his younger days, and I think he was named after him. And it's a shame he never did work with Burt. Burt was supposed to be in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I know he was a big Burt Reynolds fan, and Burt Reynolds is all over this one. But yeah, the characters in this fucking thing are great. I just think that the reason people don't like it is because it's the only movie he's made, I think, that hasn't been Oscar nominated for anything. It wasn't like in the run or even questioned that it was going to be. But I don't think it was made to be that way. It was.
I don't either. I couldn't see this being that way. You know,
the thing I love about Quentin is that he appreciates all cinema.
Mm-hmm.
He's a cinemaphile who is not above B movies or genre films or exploitation. A lot of auteurs are very pretentious when it comes. I mean, as much as I love Scorsese's battle with superhero movies or genre movies or movies that aren't important to him or aren't cinema or aren't important stories. Mm-hmm. Quentin will sit there and talk about Godard and Fellini and Kurosawa and all, but he'll also talk about fucking, you know, the blaxploitation films and, you know, Italian Argento and all this stuff, and not even them, but people who are even lesser known than those people. He'll talk about the kung fu movies. He'll talk about the spaghetti westerns that no one knows because they made 500 per year in Italy back in the 60s. You know?
Oh my God! If it wasn't for Tarantino, I wouldn't know about the Django movies from before I saw Django Unchained.
And people shit on the guy for homaging or stealing, as they say. But the thing is, like, I don't think there's another filmmaker alive who has exposed other films and other filmmakers as much as this guy has, because he talks about it. He tells you, "Oh yeah, I was this guy, and this guy's film," and he would. I mean, I've discovered so much more film because of him than I would never have known about. I didn't know who Chow Yun-fat and John Woo were before, even though The Killer was kind of a big thing. I didn't know about it. I didn't know about, you know, Dark of the Sun and, you know, The Blood Splattered Bride or, you know, Lady Snowblood and all these movies that he references and talks about. Thriller, A Cruel Film, all this. I would have never known it if he hadn't have, you know, celebrated those films. But, you know, but the thing about Quentin, people say he steals. If all you do is steal and you have nothing of your own, then why can you watch 2 minutes of a Quentin Tarantino movie and know you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie?
Oh, absolutely.
There's no question
you can do that with anymore.
Yeah. And so if his thumbprint is that strong, then it's not, he didn't steal it. It's him.
Yeah.
He's just inspired by so much. It comes out organically. I know how, like, we all talk about how we speak in fluent catchphrases, like we can all like quote movies, movie quotes. It's because we've seen these movies so much. Well, he's seen these movies so much. So when he's developing something, he's like, oh, this is kind of like that scene in that French movie from 1967 or whatever, and I'm gonna homage it, and I'll have the character have that hairdo, or I'll have the character move that way, or do a dance here, and it's not that he has to steal it. It's that he wants to because he loves cinema and he wants to pay homage to it. But the thing that makes Quentin so strong is not what he's copying, it's his characters and his dialogue. That's what makes him what he is. And that is completely him. That is 100% his work, his characters. And he knows these characters enough that he's written a fucking book about Rick Dalton and his whole film career. A fictional character he created. He's got a book coming out. He could write a book about that man's film career as if it were real. That's how much work he puts into his characters. And most filmmakers do not do that, especially people who make exploitation movies. A movie like this. So, and people can hate on, and that's part of it. The part of it, the hate of the movie is the hate of Quentin Tarantino. Always so many feet. Who gives a fuck if he likes feet? You know, like, what's that matter? Like, you like tits, you're like, whatever it is, who cares? That's what he's into. You know? But why is that an insult? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. His love for cinema comes out in his movies. Yeah, 100%. I think you said a lot there, but I think
went on a rant.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, I mean, what you said is true though. Like, you know. So anyway, like, trying to think. Is he doing? Did he do his last movie? Is that the last one he's doing?
No, he's got one more.
One more.
Yeah.
Let me Star Trek.
No, I doubt it. I think he wants to do something smaller because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was such a big film. And I think part of this movie was cleaning his palette of Kill Bill, because Kill Bill was such a huge, massive undertaking that he wanted to jump and make something small and easy, but it's not really easy because he really challenged himself to, while the first part is really awesome, that chase scene in the second part is one of the greatest things I've ever seen on film. I was so scared to death watching that scene with Zoe on that car. And
yeah, I want to talk about that actually.
Yeah,
because she was like, that was all her too. You know, like her on top of that car. Dude, what do they call that again? The
ship's mast.
Yeah, ship's mast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's being held by two belts, basically, right? Like holding it, and like I don't know how fast they're actually going, but I mean, Jesus. And then later on, she jumps on the side of the car with a big steel pipe and riding on like she's gonna joust somebody in medieval times. You know, she's so cool. Like her character. I mean, she's a stunt woman, like crazy. Like I was looking at her kind of resume earlier, and holy crap, what was it that he said he was she had her on Kill Bill, right? She doubled for her, and he was like so taken with her, he had to put her in something else.
Well, she's just so lovable. I mean, I got to meet her, and she was really freaking awesome, as everything you'd imagine. And there's also a really great documentary, if you haven't seen it, called Double Dare, which follows her and another stunt woman. But it shows, I mean, there's footage of her doing Kill Bill at the time. They were following her around then. But that's another thing about this film, and even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin, this is his love letter to stunt people. A lot of Hollywood and the industry doesn't really give stunt people the credit, but like this movie is like a stunt person's dream. And he cast a stunt woman as herself, and he made characters about stunt people, and he got like legendary stunt people together on this film. Like Terry Leonard was on it. He's a legend. And there's a great story about, you know, when they're having the car chase and the pickup swerves off and flips. That truck wasn't supposed to flip. Like, they were shocked that it flipped, and like, oh my God. And I got up to him and he goes, well, there was a crash strap in there. I figured I might as well flip it. Like, he just did it on his own. He had no idea he was going to do it. And that another thing about that chase scene is, again, it is practical. It's all real. And he also shot it in continuity because the cars were getting so damaged. They didn't want continuity. Like, it's all in order. They shot it. He didn't want to. He felt the only way to do it properly was to shoot it in order, because to go back and get this or coverage or little things like that would fuck it up, would fuck up the rhythm. So you had to shoot it in order. Also, in the editing, he said the problem with car chases now in movies is that they overshoot it. Yeah, like they'll have like 15 fucking cameras on one crash, and they'll use every cut back here, cut. He goes, I would do the coverage, but he found himself cutting out a lot of shots he had and just using, if he could get it one or more exciting. Again, going back to how these movies were made, because those cheap movies, Gone 60 Seconds was not made with that many cameras. That movie was very low budget. The original, not the Nicolas Cage shit, as they say.
Yeah.
But again, like, there's just this dedication to doing things the right way. That's why I like this movie more than Planet Terror, because Planet Terror felt too modern to me. Even though the stuff happening was exploitation, Grindhouse, John Carpenter stuff, it still looked and felt like, I don't know if Robert added the wear and tear of this film digitally, but Quentin, that was practical. They actually fucked
was
the
it
film.
really?
They physically dirtied up the footage of the film. And also, like, he wanted to do, like he said, he wanted every reel to look kind of a little different, because back in the day, like, a reel, the first reel may be like really scratched up, but the second reel may be red hue-ish, and then the third one may be beautiful. So he wanted to play with that, because these movies were cheap and they didn't have many copies, and they would send them out to the grindhouses, which were these, like kind of the drive-ins of the inner cities, and they would overplay these movies, but they would play them for years. And because there weren't that many copies, they were played and played and played over. That's how they got all those scratches and cuts and retitles to re-release it.
That was one of the things I liked also, was the retitle of this movie.
It was a Thunderbolt,
something like that. Yeah,
and the black cars.
Yeah.
Which I just love, all those little things. Like, they were really meticulous about, like, even the casting. Like, they have Rose McGowan playing in both films.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin plays a role in both films.
Too.
Who?
Marley Shelton.
But she plays the same character, but they have Rose playing two different characters. Quentin plays two different characters, and Nicky Cat plays two different characters in the film.
That was Nicky Cat, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was the zombie guy with the tongue, and then he was the convenience store selling the fashion magazines. And he kind of broke down, like, that was how it was back then. You would go see a double feature, and Pam Grier might be in both of them, and like, so Rose was being their Pam Grier. Quentin said he was being Sid Haig, because I was totally playing the Sid Haig parts. And Nicky Cat was our Dick Miller. It's Dick Miller being all those Corman movies,
Mm-hmm.
But little things like that. And then the Bruce Willis thing, I know we're not on Planet Terror, but Bruce Willis is shot in oneers most of the time, or one shot, because he said a lot, and they use a double for when it's not him, because that's how they would do it. They would pay a star to be in those exploitation movies, but they couldn't afford to have them on set or whatever. So a lot of times it would be like he shot his stuff without the rest of the cast, because that's how they would have done it back then. And then a double would have been used when they're not close up on Bruce Willis. So little things like that to capture. And going back to the Grindhouse overall, the fake trailers and the candy ads and the restriction cards, like, this movie's restricted. It was so cool
all the
to
title
see that.
cards are really good, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't grow up in inner city, so I didn't see grindhouses, but I did go to the drive-ins. That's what that felt like, was intermissions and the trailers and the little go to the food stand and go to the lobby and get yourself a drink, all that kind of stuff. I remember seeing that at the drive-in in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
They still do it sometimes, but that's what it felt definitely like a time machine when they did it, and that's what they wanted. But unfortunately, times have changed. Somebody said that, I think that's why the movie didn't work, is because people, especially now, can you imagine getting people's attention to go watch a double feature now? It probably won't happen, because people are already looking at their cell phones during the first feature. Like, what time is it? Got to go. Yeah. But in grindhouses, you'd be there all night watching movies all day long or all night long.
That would have been cool to be able to witness some of that stuff. Like, I know there, like, a lot of Italian movies came over and played in the grindhouses back in the day too.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been around back then, but I was barely being born.
So, What have we not touched on? The soundtrack?
Not we didn't really get into the soundtrack, but
Probably my favorite horror movie soundtrack as far as needle drop original like music. That soundtrack's awesome. The whole tight song during that crash scene, which we need to talk about that. We're going to get to that. But the Chick Habit song at the end, just all the 70s soul stuff, the stuff on the jukebox, which is Quentin's jukebox and his actual music. And I guess I could mention.
And then you even mentioned there's some Ennio Morricone with the Cat of Nine Tails, and
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Let's talk about that crash scene, though. Seth, you want to talk about it? 'Cause you brought it up earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I really feel like it's like I really felt it last night more so than ever before. But it's actually a really, if you think about it, it's a terrifying moment. Like I said earlier, it puts you inside that fatal car crash. You know what I mean? And the way that it was done with, like I said, going to each individual character, then going back to him, turn on the light, and going to a different character. Mm-hmm. It was just great the way that it was shot, and it was really an effective moment. I don't know what else would you have to add to that.
Just and practical. That's what's amazing about it. It's the K&B did the effects on these movies, and
which is amazing because it looks like his car eats that other car.
Yeah,
and then of course what happens on the inside with the tire hitting the face. Yeah,
like taking Butterfly's face off with the tire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God, man! And that's practical. That's a dummy with a skull underneath the dummy's face, and like Seth said, that editing, the flipping of the lights and
that was good. Yeah, and showing each one of their reaction of her face. Yeah,
and I just love that she closes her eyes like she sees it coming.
Yeah,
like she's accepting it almost. She's almost at peace when she does it. She closes her eyes almost in a peaceful way, like, oh, this is it. Like, I'm gonna die. And there's something really, but that song, the Hold Tight, is a perfect song for that scene. But I also loved the moment right before it where he kills Rose McGowan, because that was just something we'd never seen it. It was so fucking scary because, like, when he gets in there and says, "Which way are you going?" She goes, "Right." He goes, "Oh, well, that's too bad because we're both going left. If you hadn't been going left, you would have got scared a lot. You're going to have to get scared a lot faster." And he goes, "Right." And he's banging her around. And then he has that line where he's like, "I wasn't making up when I said this car's death proof. It's 100% death proof. Only to get the benefit of it, honey, you have to be sitting in my seat." He slams on the brakes. It's just so violent and scary. And, like, I love the little horror movie stinger when he pulls out. It's like, wah! Yeah. And again, it's that turn of the screw or whatever. Like, Kurt has been so charming and you kind of sympathize with him because he is kind of that old loser in the bar, and these girls are laughing at him in many ways.
Here, I found a picture of the crash, the overhead shot. It's not a great picture to look at that.
That's incredible. But like when he turns sinister, it's just so chilling because he's been everybody's been making fun of him and laughing at him. And now he's in control. And after he like slams her head into the thing and she's laying there dying, that just kind of lean over to stare at her and watch her die. It's chilling. It's really, and then he's like, "Now I got to go get my other girls." And he takes that photos out and goes after them. I'd say it's one of the 10 best slasher films I've seen. Is a Friday the 13th movie better than this movie? I don't think so. I know people will disagree with that, but is there one better than this film? Better written, better acted, better shot?
I don't want to talk about it.
So.
No, you're right. It's really good.
Underrated,
really good movie.
it's like, okay, Quentin's even said it's his worst movie, but Quentin Tarantino's worst movie is better than most fucking movies that come out every year. So it's like, we're ranking John Carpenter movies. You're like, well, you put that last, but still, it's good. It's not like it sucks. It's like there has to be the last one.
There has to be one bad one. Yeah.
There has to be one at the bottom. Yeah. So I don't think the man's made a bad movie, in my opinion. But
I recently ranked his movies. I can't remember how I ranked them, but this may have been on the bottom.
It's my least favorite, just because the other ones are so fucking great. But it doesn't mean this one isn't great. But I can't think anything, because most of his movies are just masterpieces in my mind. I mean, I can't think of one that, other than Four Rooms. His segment Four Rooms is I don't really care for, but that's not really his film.
Well, which one was his?
The last one, The Man from Colorado or whatever. It's like it's actually like a remake of a Twilight Zone episode, I think. With the hatchet or the meat cleaver cutting the fingers off or whatever. Rodriguez outdid him on that one. Rodriguez's segment's my favorite of that. The Misbehaviors.
Yeah, that is a good one. That's a good movie. I'm trying to find
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth's always good, though.
Yeah.
I know I did a post about it. I was curious. I'm looking on Facebook to see if I can find it, but
I did have some of the people who were up for Stuntman Mike.
Yeah, I saw the list. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, he wanted Mickey Rourke, and Mickey Rourke wanted to do it, and Mickey Rourke was going to get the pompadour and all that stuff, and basically his agents fucked it up, because his agent said, well, they want you, Quentin really wants you, so we're going to keep trying to get more money. Well, this movie was being made for cheap, it was we knew it wasn't going to be Inglourious Bastards. It was going to be a cheap slasher horror movie, and so the agents fucked that deal up. Where Quentin's the kind of guy's like, he ain't gonna let some agents fuck with him. Like, he's like, I just go get Kurt Russell. I'll go get somebody else, because everybody wants to work with Quentin in Hollywood. All these actors wanted to work with him, so it's not like he has to have Mickey Rourke. He had Stallone, he had Ving Rhames, he had Bruce Willis, he had who else was on the list?
John Travolta.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people that he considered for the part, and it was, I think, Rodriguez who said, we need to get Snake Plissken in this. We need to have Kurt Russell.
It's hard to imagine any of those guys. I can't find that post, but it's hard to imagine any of those guys other than Kurt Russell in this role, in my opinion.
He had the vulnerability that made you a little sympathetic with him in the beginning, to when he turns cold, it works. It's kind of like, even though Kurt had played bad guys before, we still don't look at Kurt Russell as a bad guy, as a villain. I don't really look at him that way. And it's kind of like Leone when he cast Henry Fonda in Once Upon a Time in the West. I love Henry Fonda talking about that, because he had never played a villain before, and he said, and when he was come to about it, he thought Leone was crazy. He goes, but I realized Leone was genius, because he knew that, like, when anyone who hasn't seen that movie, the first time you see Henry Fonda, he murders a little boy. He shoots they massacre a whole family, and then he shoots a little boy. And they said the camera pans around. Leone knew that the camera pan around and see, holy shit, it's fucking Henry Fonda. It's like seeing Jimmy Stewart or Tom Hanks playing a cold-blooded killer when they had never done anything like that before. So to see Kurt Russell.
Welcome back.
Yeah. But Kurt was definitely perfect for it. And it ties into Planet Terror, because Planet Terror is such a John Carpenter tribute. And, he had I don't know if it was planned to put Jack Burton's, tank top on at the bar on the wall.
Was it? I didn't notice that.
Yeah. At the Texas Chili Parlor, where they're hanging out. His tank top sitting on the wall, hanging on the wall. Which I've been there. Me and my wife went to Austin back in the spring, and we went to the Texas Chili Parlor where that scene takes place. And we went to Hueros, which is the Mexican place they go to in the beginning, where they meet the girl who does the when they tell her about the thing she said on the radio that day about the guy approaching her and saying the poem, the Robert Frost poem. But yeah, good food. Definitely. It was cool to go watch it today because I hadn't watched it since going to Austin, but noticing places that we had been and seen in Austin. Because he had been going to Austin for years and wanted to make a movie there. And again, Richard Linklater tributes and Rodriguez's studios there, Troublemaker.
I wanted to ask if you got the nachos, but you don't eat cheese, so I guess not.
Yeah, but I got the chili. I got like a sampler chili, and I had one of their drinks that they have there that's famous. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a margarita or something. But cool place. I mean, the interior Werrell's was shot on a stage, but they shot inside the chili parlor, the actual place, because Quentin just loved that space and he just fell in love with it and wanted it to be the place they shot it at, which is not a huge place. So probably was a challenge to shoot there.
Yeah, I would think so. It is really looked really tight in there.
And the porch is not there. That was built at another location, the parking lot, because there's no, it's right. It's Texas Chili Park is like right by the state capitol downtown, Austin. So there's not a lot of parking space. We had to park and walk to Texas Chili Park because there was no parking. I don't even know if you could park on the street.
Go up there.
It was definitely good. They were really awesome people there too. And Werrell's was delicious. That's on South Congress, where it's like everything happening is on that street, that strip. That's outside of the downtown, but it's pretty much downtown. And then you got Texas University, so that's where they made Days Confused and all Linklater's early.
Is that where they made? What's that baseball one? Everybody Wants Some. Was that made down there too?
Yeah, they shot Everybody Wants Some there. Slacker, Suburbia, Boyhood was probably shot there. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That was shot over like 13 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting movie. You had to keep getting the cast together. Ethan Hawke and who was the mom? Trish Arquette.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully this episode will convince some people to watch and maybe even understand why this is a pretty good movie. Because I can't, it's not right in front of me what I said, but I said something about it being underrated. I'm going to look. Being underrated, and nobody ever talks about this movie anymore. It kind of had its time when it came out, and it was probably mostly negative, overshadowed by the other one because of like you said, it's a little crazy. It's a Carpenter-esque type movie, I think this one definitely there are a bunch of Tarantino. Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, Robert really embraced the exploitation element. Like, that's probably the raunchiest, filthiest, grindhousey movie that he's ever made, because it is like very over sexualized. Just a lot of testicle humor, a lot of gross out stuff that you really wouldn't normally see Rodriguez do. He went the full Tid yard. And it is a fun movie. I really hadn't seen that movie probably in 15 years. I watched it yesterday or 2 days ago, and there's still things I don't love about it. There's a lot. It is totally a party movie, B movie, all the way down to the dialogue. It feels like a lot of movies we saw. So he did nail it. I think he also nailed Machete. I thought Machete was a great. Machete came out the same year as the Expendables, and Expendables was supposed to be this homage to 80s. I thought Machete was far better to me than Expendables was. It felt more like the 80s action movies. I thought the Machete trailer and the Thanksgiving trailer were the one, and Edgar Wright's Don't was hilarious and pretty much caught British horror films from the 70s.
I need to rewatch those trailers. I haven't seen those trailers in a long time.
Oh, they're great, and I thought Rob Zombie kind of failed at it, which is weird because he's so much about B and exploitation. But the thing that bothered me about Rob's was like he like announces all the cast. He like advertises like Bill Moseley and Sherry Moon Zombie and Sybil Danning. It's like they didn't do that. Those people weren't fucking stars in those movies. Like nobody knew. Like they may say Pam Grier, but they don't say the whole fucking cast. But we do get that great moment where it's like, and Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu. Nicolas Cage comes out as Fu Manchu. But I felt like his movie felt more like Rob Zombie doing like advertising his buddies and his cast instead of Thanksgiving felt like a slasher trailer of that era, very cheap. And he shot it while they were making Hostel, I believe. Some of the actors were from Hostel, and they shot it over there.
I read that Eli Roth came over, and some of the actors came over for one day of shooting. They shot all their stuff and went back over to.
I think they actually shot it in Europe where they were filming.
Really?
Hostel. I believe so. I think that's like made to look like America, but I think they actually shot it where they were filming Hostel. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was it. But yeah, I loved the one thing I don't like about Planet Terror is for some reason does the blood feel kind of like it's very gelatin color, like it's like very trans. I don't know. It doesn't look. Maybe it's because of the infection. But then the humans who are getting eaten up and chewed up, the blood looks very. Maybe it was a way around censors. If it was very realistic looking.
I just thought it was part of the in Dawn of the Dead, the blood looked like almost like
maybe
and
maybe that was the homage.
Yeah, because I just that's how I kind of took it,
But it looks like
I don't know.
It looks
that
like
one I didn't
it looks like
watch, so
it looks like KY jelly with red food coloring in it or something. Like it's just very gooey and it doesn't. And maybe it's part of a lot of squishy sound effects every time something's being shot or eaten or attacked. But we haven't talked about that movie. I guess we got like 15 minutes. Should we move to Planet Terror?
Yeah, we can talk about Planet Terror a little bit. I didn't get to watch it, but I have seen it a couple of times, so I know a lot of what happens and everything. But Seth, how about you? Did you get the chance to watch Planet Terror?
Seth's the Carpenter guy, and it's such a love letter to him.
Actually, I haven't rewatched it because I thought we were just gonna be talking mainly Death Proof. I do love it. We should do an episode on Planet Terror.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that
because that'd be a fun one to do. But one of the things I wanted to mention too is I like how both Death Proof and Planet Terror are connected by by Earl McGraw and his son and his daughter, and and they're also in other. They're in other movies too. They're in Kill Bill and From Dusk Till Dawn 1 and 2, and I really liked that connection there. And I was trying to see. I was looking up a little bit earlier when you guys was talking. I was trying to see if stuntman what's his name, Stuntman Mike, if he was connected to Kurt Russell's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but couldn't really find anything on that.
Well, that would have been kind of cool.
Like timeline wise, it wouldn't make sense for it to be the same character, but like maybe a younger.
Well, he probably would have. He would have probably been working it because all the shows he's talking about, they're Virginian and. Yeah,
but his character would have been like
He would have been. He would have been like 20 or something. Yeah.
Right, and Kurt Russell was noticeably Kurt Russell in Once Upon a Time, but I was kind of hoping for that Vega brother type of connection there between those. That'd been cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do Planet Terror separately because there is a lot. I think Planet Terror would be a good audio commentary episode.
Ooh, we could do that. We haven't done one of those in a long time.
Yeah, that's such a fun movie to watch with friends because it's just all balls to the wall craziness, constantly.
and it's unapologetic too.
Yeah,
The one part where Marley Shelton's character hands her son the gun in the car.
My God. Yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah.
Let's we can definitely do that at some point. I'm sure Jared would like to talk about that as well. And this one was a good a good one to talk about. We've got time coming up, so we've got. Let's do final thoughts, and then I'll talk about our next episode.
Okay.
So, Seth, you go first.
Of course, I go first. I again, like I said, I really like Death Proof a lot. I think it's a really good movie. I don't get the hate for it either. I do like I did feel like like what Nate mentioned earlier, like my reaction in the theater was, why was Planet Terror first? They should have started with a slow burn and then ended with the big
ego,
adrenaline movie.
Ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quentin's the bigger name out of the two guys.
Yeah, or I don't know if maybe they could have thought that maybe the slow burn of Death Proof would have put audiences off from, I don't know,
staying
around, seeing it, or staying for the next one or whatnot. But
yeah,
it's Tarantino. His movies always have a lot of dialogue, and I have zero problems with that. I think a lot of his dialogue is fun. He gets a lot of fun performances out of his characters or out of his actors with the specific dialogue. It's the whole scene in like earlier in Death Proof where they're trying to explain to Butterfly about what Jungle Julia said on the radio, and just the way Jungle Julia was talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
It was very Tarantino. With the way it was broken up and everything, and I thought it was great. So it's not my favorite Tarantino movie. I think it would be, on the bottom of my list as well. But like Nate said, there's no such thing as a bad Tarantino movie. So
Sounds like we're going to have to rank the Tarantino movies, guys, on our personal Facebook pages. Just saying.
Reservoir Dogs is number one for me.
Is it?
Same here, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
You already know my favorite. Would you count Kill Bill as one movie or two movies?
I count it as one.
One. I count as one.
Yeah.
He does two. When he counts, he says he's going to make 10 movies and done. He's counting Kill Bill as one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was brilliant on their part. They made all their money back on that one movie just from volume one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. So Nate, what about you? Some final thoughts before we piss off?
Yeah, I think that's where. I think the reason the movie's overlooked by horror fans, and there's a lot of horror fans like, it's not horror. You get that shit with it. It was obviously a horror movie. Quentin said, let's do horror movies for this movie, for Grindhouse. And they thought that every other Grindhouse would be like spaghetti westerns or kung fu movies, or this was supposed to be their horror episode or edition of Grindhouse. But I think it's because most horror films are not about character and dialogue. It's about the action, and the action in the first half of the movie is about 5 minutes long, if that, maybe 2 minutes long. And then we wait another hour and a half that chase scene's 20 minutes long. It's a hell of a long time for a chase scene. I don't know if it's the longest chase scene. Well, I mean, Gone in 60 Seconds is fucking long, but I think it's not really what horror fans look for in horror. A lot of dialogue-driven stuff. A lot of people. That turns people off with this guy. I mean, I still see people like, oh, all it was talking. I was like, yeah, have you never seen this guy's movies before? Like that's kind of what it is, and that's what he likes, and he's good at it. He's that's what he enjoys. I recently heard him talk about. I knew that he was really into the French New Wave when he wrote Pulp Fiction, and he named his company A Band Apart after Godard's film Band of Outsiders. And he was more taken by Pauline Kael, who was a great film critic. Pauline Kael had written about Band of Outsiders, and she said that it's like if some Frenchmen read a banal American crime pulp novel and found the poetry in between the lines. And he said, that's what I want to do. That's what I do as film. And it's what he does. He takes genre films and he doesn't just do what those genres do. He finds the poetry in between it, which is, gangsters talking about cheeseburgers and Madonna, and not about, talking about the gangster tough guy shit that most gangster movies would have, to the point where they feel like us and we recognize ourselves in there, especially cinemaphiles who are like, he's talking about movies all the time. Like every person in these movies are movie people, because Earl McGraw's calling stuntman Mike Frankenstein from Death Race 2000. I know that's what the reference goes, Frankenstein in there. He's talking about Death Race 2000, or he calls him Hooper, Burt Reynolds, or Jungle Julia says Zayoichi when he can't see the, she's quoting movies that, of course, a lot of people don't know, but I don't know where I was at, but I just love the guy's films. He's the only filmmaker where I'm going to be there opening week. Maybe not the only, but consistently since 1994, opening day, I'm at his movies, and I'll see another one. And there's not a lot of filmmakers that I'm like that with, because I know I'm going to enjoy, be entertained, and I haven't been disappointed by a movie of his since Four Rooms. It was the only one, but though, right? I've loved every single fucking one of them, and it's about Mike Flanagan stuff. Flanagan's a stellar filmmaker. He's probably someone who's not everybody's. In the horror genre, there's people who just want to get to the red stuff and the tits and the rape and all that stuff. And if you're not giving them that, they're not interested, and they want to call it a thriller or something. But yeah, look at The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead's so character driven and conversation driven. It's not about the zombies, and people say that's not horror. That's how horror fans. So that's why this movie isn't on everyone's horror list, but it's on my top 10 of the 2000s, the aughts. I think we did our countdown once, but it is overlooked and not talked about very, very much. It's
no, almost not at all. You never see it brought up, especially in horror circles. Yeah, I like this movie. Glad we got to talk about it. But Nate, do you have anything else before I move on to what I want to say?
No, I'm good. Me and Rubber Ducky are going.
Next week we're doing an episode that I'm very excited about. I'm sure Seth is too. Nate and Jared should be back next Wednesday, and we are doing John Carpenter's The Thing, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary. We all got to see it in the theater, probably I think all for the first time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Jared got the best of it because he got to see it after they fixed all the problems I guess they had with it, which I didn't really notice. It didn't take anything away from me. I had a good time with it, and my girlfriend Sherry got to see it for the first time in the theater. How lucky is that? Well, lucky is she's dating a horror guy. But after that, we'll come up with another episode, and then probably beginning of August, by request, we'll be talking about The Lost Boys. Sherry, my girlfriend again, she loves The Lost Boys more than anything. Well, movie-wise, I think. Well, horror movie-wise. So we'll be doing all that. Plus, we'll have other episodes coming up as well. It sounds like we'll be doing Planet Terror. Yeah. I knew she loved I love The Lost Boys, and we do. We were going to talk about doing Lost Boys and Near Dark, but I want to do Lost Boys for one episode. So anyway, that's it for us. We'll be back next week when we talk about John Carpenter's The Thing, and we'll also have a whole segment on this guy.
Yes.
And that's it. Seth, Nate, thanks for joining as usual, and the end. By the way, I love that. the end of the movie.
Oh, so fucking great ending.
Yeah, and then the Rosario Dawson face stomp.
The leg drop. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was awesome. Come back next week. We will see you on Wednesday. 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. Have a great night. Watch some horror movies. Let us know what you watch. Also, let us know what your favorite Quentin Tarantino movies are in the comments.